right. It is 6:32. I'm calling the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to start with a commendation for our Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association, recognizing 70 years of dedicated ambulance service to Whitemarsh Township. And I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas on May 30th, 1956, the first ambulance call was answered, marking the beginning of a proud tradition of emergency medical service to the residents and visitors of Whitemarsh Township. And whereas for 70 years, the dedicated members and professionals of the ambulance service have provided compassionate, skilled, and life-saving care during times of medical emergency, disaster, and community need. And whereas the ambulance service has evolved from its humble beginnings into a modern medical organization, continually adapting to advances in medicine, technology, training, and patient care. And whereas the organization provides advanced life support services, ensuring that highly trained paramedics and emergency medical personnel are available to deliver critical pre-hospital care when every second counts. And whereas the ambulance service remains committed to protecting the health, safety, and well-being of the community through round-the-clock emergency response, operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And whereas generations of emergency medical technicians, paramedics, volunteers, support personnel, and leaders have dedicated countless hours of service, professionalism, and sacrifice in support of the citizens of Whitemarsh Township, and whereas the residents of Whitemarsh Township are deeply grateful for the unwavering commitment, courage, and excellence demonstrated by all those who have served and continue to serve in this pivotal public safety role. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Whitemarsh Township Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes and celebrates the 70th anniversary of Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association and extends its sincere appreciation to all past and present members whose dedication has strengthened the community and saved countless lives since May 30th. And I hope you never need the ambulance. But speaking from someone who needed it for a family member, I can't say enough about what they do each and every day, how quickly they respond, and how amazing, calm, and professional they are. And I thank you wholeheartedly for being such a huge part of our community and an important one. So I'm gonna ask everybody to give you a round of applause. Right here, which I'm going to give to you, Kristen Kovacs. Thank you for all of this. Really appreciate it.
Can I get a picture?
Yes, Karen.
Yeah.
Would like everybody to come up here.
Yeah.
Sandy, stand in the front.
He's speaking from someone who knows.
Oh, yeah. He's usually right next to me.
Are you guys on the end? Can you squeeze in a bit?
Everybody squeeze in. You're good.
Megan, Elizabeth.
Bend down.
There you go.
There we go. Is Vincent here? Vince, come join us.
You're hiding. Please go.
Come join us.
That's a violation.
Come on, we're off the show. All right.
All right, here we go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yes, thank you so much.
They got changed in 82. What year? 82. Oh, well, when we first Well, congratulations.
Got it. Okay. Yep. All right, we'll just wait one more second for everyone to clear out.
All right, Mama, let's go.
All right, I'm going to, thank you, Sandy. Take care, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Beth Moy for the announcements.
Good evening, everyone. The township would like to thank all who marched in the 4th of July parade and our spectators who attended. Special thanks to the Lions Club, community volunteers, our police and public works departments, fire marshal's office, Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association, Spring Mill and Barron Hill Volunteer Fire Companies, the 4th of July Parade Committee, and especially Tom Blomstrom and the Parks and Rec Department for their organization and coordination in hosting a wonderful event. The township will host a blood drive on Tuesday, August 11th from 9 to 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Craig, before I go to the approval of the minutes, I just want to make sure it's noted that Vince was also here for that. I don't know that his name is on there, so just make sure he's listed because he is going to vote.
We will adjust that.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 16th, 2026 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we're going to move down to board discussion items. The board has received a request from the Veterans Monument Foundation of Whitemarsh to, number one, dissolve the Veterans Monument Foundation of Whitemarsh, and two, to transfer remaining funding and maintenance responsibility to Whitemarsh Township. With us tonight is Sarah Earlbaum and Eileen Baer from the Veterans Monument Foundation. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we were here approximately 1 month ago or so as more of just a basic discussion item because there was a letter of intent. And tonight, obviously, is the resolution itself. So just so you know, next steps, if in fact the board decides to approve the resolution, next steps is I would bring that with some other items to the AG's office. And that's how we keep moving this forward. The AG's office has to approve the dissolution of the nonprofit because it's obviously an IRS legal entity in that sense.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there any board comment or questions? Is there any public comment? Come on up, Tom.
Tom Dahl, Fairway Road. I just have a quick question. How much is the amount that's being transferred from the maintenance and repair budget to the township?
We have approximately not $100,000 in there to the installation of a bell, which was part of the original plans, and maintenance and any repairs that would be needed over time.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there any other public comment? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move down to the resolution. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-10 for the dissolution of the Veterans Monument Foundation of Whitemarsh and to accept the transfer of the remaining funds for maintenance and improvements of the monument in the future?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Griffincelli?
Yes.
Ms. Train?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Moy?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution carries. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-11 for the township to establish a new dedicated bank account for the future maintenance and improvements of the Veterans Monument?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Griffin Shelley?
Yes.
Ms. Treen?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Moy?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution carries. Moving down to the review of SLD 02-26 for 201 Roberts Avenue to erect a 3-story, 3-unit multifamily building. I am going to turn it over first to Solicitor Kilkenny.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair Toll. Just to give the public and the board a brief summary of where we are with 201 Roberts Avenue, the preliminary and final land development plan. This minor land development application seeks to replace a greenhouse, forest, and residence with one multifamily dwelling consisting of 3 living units, a triplex. The greenhouse, the forest, and the residence were what is called non-conforming uses, which means they were legal when they began, but that the zoning officer, the zoning ordinance has been amended so they no longer are permitted uses in the zoning district. They are grandfathered in. In 2024, following inquiry by the current property owner, the zoning officer, in consultation with our office, determined that the greenhouse, forest, and residence uses had not been abandoned under the legal test for abandonment of non-conforming uses, and that the property owner can change the non-conforming uses to another non-conforming use as long as the proposed use has less adverse effects, such as traffic and environmental impacts, such as noise, smoke, vapors, etc., than the prior uses. Mr. Pickle, a neighbor of the property who objects to the proposed use of the property as a triplex, filed an appeal to the zoning hearing board from the zoning officer's determination regarding abandonment of the prior non-conforming use. The zoning board is the forum in which the validity of the zoning officer's action would be determined. However, Mr. Pickle withdrew the application prior to it being heard, thus making the zoning officer's determination final. The current applicant proceeded with its plans for the triplex and obtained dimensional variances from the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board decision was initially appealed to the court by another neighbor, but the appeal was withdrawn prior to being decided by the court, making the zoning hearing board's decision order final. The current plan is before the board tonight for the board to consider whether to grant preliminary and final land development approval and certain waivers from the subdivision and land development ordinance to allow the triplex to be constructed on the property. The plan has been reviewed by the township engineer and the director of planning and zoning, as well as the township fire marshal and shade tree commission. The planning commission recommended that the waivers and the plan be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Charlie, did you have anything to add?
No, I think Sean described it accurately, and I think if Craig allows me to share my screen, I will put a PowerPoint up, and Robert Towski, the applicant, would like to present the application.
I appreciate it. So before we begin, well, we'll get started with this part, and then we'll move on to public comment. Thank you.
Okay. We okay? Start? Okay.
Yes.
So my name is Robert Ratoski. We acquired a property. Prior to doing so, we did get the zoning determination. We went through the steps of zoning. We originally started with 2 single-family houses on this property. There was a lot of objection to that. So then we withdrew that application. We had further discussions with some of the neighbors. We came up with what you're going to see on the screen right here. And I noticed this is just going to be a short presentation, so the old picture is worth 1,000 words here. So the greenhouse, the very long yellow shaded area is the footprint of the florist, the greenhouse, and the residential neighborhood. I want to point out a few things on that. the picture to the left, is number one, that the building itself, the footprint is over the right-of-way line of the road. It was constructed well prior to the current zoning and the regulations that are in place. It was, let me see, the building coverage is 50% on the picture to the left. The picture to the right shows where the triplex building would go. That only encompasses 21.8%. A few things also with the picture to the left. It's 2 commercial properties and 1 residential. There is 0 parking, and one of the big safety aspects is the line of sight. So if you're trying to come out of the alley, or if you're at Roberts Avenue, you're trying to turn left on the Hollowell, the sight distance is not very good. So when we were trying to design and where to put the building, we put it as far in on Roberts as we could. We improved the sight distance off of Roberts, and we dramatically improved the sight distance off of the alley. In further discussions, when we were going through these meetings, we met with, I did talk to a couple of the neighbors, and a few of the neighbors, there was discussion about the parking in the back. So we revised the plans to move the parking a little bit closer, like away from the alley, so there's a better turning radius. And then we also, in this process, we said that right now it's a stone alley. We would go ahead and blacktop the alley from the edge of our property out to Hollowell Street. We went through the Shade Tree Commission. There's a total of 60, I believe it's 69 trees and bushes that we would add. Let me see what else on my notes here. When we actually designed the building as well, we did try to make it look like a single-family home. So instead of having multiple doors and things of that sort, there's a door to the left that would take you into a hallway, and then each unit would be access off of that stairwell. So if you were driving by, it would actually look like a single-family home. One of the other things we made considerations to when we talked to the zoning hearing board is they asked if we would make it into condos. This way, it would be permanent residences for people, and it would take away from any kind of like transient apartment type of living. So it would conform more to the neighborhood. We were changing the 2 uses from the 2 commercial and residential to all residential. I just say that, the pictures themselves, I think, really speak for themselves of all the benefits that this would do. In the alternative, we would have to work off the existing footprint, which is a 50% building coverage. Like I mentioned, 2 commercial, 1 residential uses. If we didn't do land development, it would take away from the land development, off-street parking, landscaping, stormwater detention, the lack of sight distances, and the building would still remain across the right-of-way line on Hollowell Street. All these improvements, we believe, will be overall improvements and also improve the safety of the neighborhood. So that's pretty much what we did, and we've had multiple meetings, and like I said, this is just a real short summary. If you have any specific questions, I would be happy to answer them, and here we are.
Thank you. Is there any board comment or questions?
Can you tell us how many bedrooms are in each one of those units?
3 bedrooms and 2 baths.
So 3 and 2 on each level?
I'm sorry?
On each level?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the 1 bedroom would be rather small, and what we found that in recent cases that we've been doing, or buildings we've been doing, it seems like this is more of a, it's not going to be an end-all home where you're going to have, multiple children and all living there. This is like a starter house where you get a professional, like a newly married or a professional, and they would use one of the bedrooms as an office, and the other 2 would be actual bedrooms, is what we found is the most common use.
Okay. So I've got a letter here dated June 3rd, 2026, with a request for a number of waivers. Is that the most recent letter?
Yes, that is the one, because as soon as you have 3 units, it triggers full land development. And full land development then makes you go through, like, this is probably the smallest lot that's ever went through land development. It's a very, very tiny lot. So a lot of the things in those waivers just aren't applicable to this plan, or so therefore we have to ask waivers for. So, we had our engineer go through it, and we believe we're asking for the minimum amount of waivers necessary to complete this project as the plan that you see. And we found that the waivers are consistent with other applications that have been in front of you.
Okay, understood. And I just want to level set here. The only issues before us tonight are whether to grant these waivers.
That's correct.
We're not revisiting the zoning hearing board issue. We're not revisiting other decisions that are final and unappealable. So what I'd like to do is to take that letter and have you and your counsel, or just yourself, go one by one and explain to us why we should grant that waiver.
Was it in a
Yeah,
packet?
I don't
Yep.
believe I have that waiver list
He doesn't have it.
with me. Wait, yeah. You have it? Sure. Thank you, sorry, they just did it collectively before. So read each one and go through it? Okay. Number one, section 105D or 12D to permit simultaneous subdivision review and approval of the project as both as preliminary and final land development. That's a pretty standard one that, they coincide together.
Just because of the size of this development, you're asking that, and because the issues are rather limited, you're asking that they be combined.
Yeah, because it would be redundant to come back to do the same thing for the exact same reasons, yeah.
Okay.
105B, 2B1N, depiction of the features within 500 feet of the subject property. Partial waiver of this section is requested to utilize aerial imagery in lieu of actual field survey to satisfy this requirement, as obtaining actual physical field locations would require you to trespass on the multiple properties, which their firm isn't permitted to do. That's a pretty standard one where, they want all the physical features within 500 feet, but you can't physically go on everybody else's property to do field measurements. So it's been a common practice for many years to accept aerial photography for that.
Common practice in Whitemarsh Township, or a common practice in?
No, in Whitemarsh as well, yeah. You can check with Charlie if you want, yeah.
All right.
Yep. Mapping of natural and man-made features within 1,000 feet of the tract boundaries. It's the same as the same answers as the last one. Number 4, preparation of existing resources and site analysis plan. The current site is an existing commercial greenhouse, flower shop, and attached single-family dwelling, both serving the public utilities. This project involves the removal of the existing structures and redevelopment into 3 single units, structure being served by public utilities, having none or less impact on existing infrastructure or the surrounding community. Means we're really not impact, like on land development, a lot of times, you impact like multiple acres and things of that sort. We're literally just tearing down the building and putting up a new one, and the building that we're putting up is smaller than what is there. Adjacent street standards, a waiver is requested to not require widening of the streets up to 36 feet along the frontage of the property, as well as the existing streets within the residential area. The township currently contain an average width of 30 feet. A waiver is also requested to not require the installation of sidewalk along the property frontage. While recognizing existence of sidewalk on the north side of Hollowell Street, there are no current sidewalks on either side south of Hollowell and along the east-west sides of both Roberts and Summits Avenue, which are within a highly developed residential neighborhood. The installation of sidewalks along the front of Hollowell Street will require the relocation of utility pole lines, and serving of the portion of the community would cause disruption in the service. Number 6, require street intersection site distance of 400 feet. This one here, if you look to the left, between the property and North Lane is 348 feet. So we can't provide 400 feet because we're at 348 feet. Physical separation and confinement of parking by curbing to a street. The proposed off-street parking is located both to the rear of the property and does not front onto a public street, but onto an alley. And it utilizes access by several properties and other people in the neighborhood. Additionally, the proposed parking is separated from Hollowell Street by 17 feet of lawn and landscape areas. So we're not actually off of a public street. We're accessing all the parking off of the alley.
So that alley is privately owned and maintained?
I don't think so, but there's a numerous amount of properties along, I think, both North Lane and Roberts Avenue that do utilize that alley for parking in the rear of their property. So what we were trying to do to improve that was the end of the alley where it's all street, we would actually blacktop that from the edge of where our parking is out to the end of Hollowell Street.
So is it a public street or is it?
It's not a public street, it's a private alley for the benefit of all the properties that front on it, or back onto it in this case.
So who maintains it?
It's private ownership along the whole way. It's
So it
just
is
a right of
private.
access. Each property owner
Each property has ownership of part
maintains
of
their
it?
portion.
Got it.
All right, thank you.
The provision of 1 3-inch tree for every 2 parking spaces is number 9. We went in front of the Township Shade Tree Commission.
Where are
and-
you? You're on 9? Did we skip 8?
Maybe, okay. 8, 15-foot setback of parking areas from right-of-way lines and property lines, and maintain setback as planting strip and sidewalk. The waivers requested to permit 6-foot setback to the township required right-of-way line of Hollowell Street, and an 8-foot setback on the property of Charles A. Roth, both of which are intended to be maintained in a lawn landscape condition as depicted on sheet 606 of the plan. A 0-foot setback is on the rear of the property adjoining the existing 15-foot alley right-of-way.
Can you point out where on this plan we're talking about?
So, on the property, on the it's a little delayed. Well, I could try to point out better. The parking is in the rear of the property here, and there is a setback between the property line, Roth there, and then the Hollowell Street and coming in, and there's no road on the backside, it's just the alley. So we're accessing it directly off of the alley.
And how far are you from the property line, Mr. Ross' property line? Look, is that 8 feet?
I believe it's 8 foot, yes.
8, 15.
Where they're saying you require 15 foot. And that was the only way we could put parking in off of the alley. And so the ordinance actually calls for 5 parking spaces for the amount of units that we need, and we have 6. So we wanted an even 2 for each unit. So that's why we have 6 across the back when 5 was required.
And that's the parking spot count takes into account the 3 bedrooms in each unit?
Yes.
Do any of the plans show where the structures are on Mr. Ross' property?
Mhm.
I have pictures of those things if you want to see
Mhm.
pictures.
All right, we'll get to that during public comment, but.
His house is located in the front, right next to the yellow box on his side of the property. And then the rest of it is a backyard that,
Some distance from
The very front corner is shown on the drawing, but not the entire dwelling.
22 feet from the existing dwelling to the property line,
Okay.
but nothing near the parking. All right.
We have an aerial photo, I believe, that I can share. So here you go. Pointer's not really working too well, but you can see the greenhouse there in the back. Here's a garage, and then on the front is his house, and then his yard is in the middle.
And what's back along the alley?
It's a fence and a garage.
So there's a garage near where the parking is proposed?
It's on the inside of the fence. There's a fence line right now. Right here is the fence line.
Okay.
And that's the edge of his property. So we would be, right there is our parking in this
Right.
section here.
So you'd be 8 feet from
The fence.
the fence? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next one is,
Yeah, question?
No, when you're done, I do have questions, but
Mm-hmm.
when you finish this one,
Okay.
that's fine. Sorry, Vince, I didn't mean to jump in.
next one says the provisions for 3-inch tree for every 2 parking places. We actually revised our plans, and we were in front of the planning, or the Shade Tree Commission, and we complied with everything that they're asking for there.
And what are they asking for?
Well, they wanted, the one other thing for the shade tree is that you're allowed to substitute 10 shrubs for 1 tree. And we actually put in, I believe, 26 shrubs. But the one member of the board wanted a couple trees to be a little bit taller than the other shrubs. So we're going to substitute in a couple extra trees. And what we did is, on the landscape plan, and I'll get back to that. On the landscape plan, hold on, I think I just passed it. We put shrubs in front of all the parking spaces so that if you turned in at nighttime, it would block any, so it would block any of the headlights coming in. So this section here, there's all the shrubs that we put so they would grow, so any cars that would pull in. And they asked that we put in between every like 3 or 4, we would have a couple staggered trees. And we complied with that and got approval from the Shade Tree Commission when we were in front of them.
And then there's additional, looks like there's additional trees then further back along the property line.
There's 69 total bushes and trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, bushes here along the edge, all along the edge here, a few up on the top, a couple street trees. There's a lot of landscaping here.
What type of trees are you proposing for in front of the parking spots? Had you picked them already?
They were all listed.
Did they want taller
plan.
trees to provide higher level screening, or were they just kind of like arborvitae, kind of bush looking?
No, they were
trees?
smaller bushes along the parking area.
Okay.
And then a couple taller ones staggered in between.
So the idea is the bushes are going to be about the height of a car headlight? Is that what you're
Yes.
thinking? Okay.
Yes.
And then what about overhead lighting in that parking garage? I mean, that parking lot?
I don't believe we have
There's
anything
none? Okay.
for lighting. Okay. Let me see. Installation of sidewalks. As we talked about earlier, there's sidewalks across the street on Hollowell, but there's none on our side of Hollowell and turning up on to Roberts. So we were asking a waiver for the installation of sidewalks. Number 11, trees located no closer than 50 foot from the intersection of right-of-way roads. It says that, the plan was submitted and received approval from the Township Shade Tree Commission, and that the proposed plantings would have no interference with the available site distances at that intersection. Meaning they designed it around to make sure that you're not going to have any problem with any site distance. Requiring trees to be minimum caliber 3-inch. We actually said we would comply with that, so that's really a non-issue. The tree planting zone, again, the plan was submitted and have received approval from Township Shade Tree Commission.
What's the gist of that tree planting zone requirement?
You know, I'm not 100% sure. The landscape architect, I believe, designed it and then had discussions with the arborist, and then when they reviewed it, it complied, so I'm not 100% sure
The
what he
I
said.
can
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tree planting zone is referring to when you have a sidewalk, a strip to plant trees and grass, and then the curb. But because there's no sidewalk here, there really is, there's physically no tree planting zone.
So it's not a compliance issue, they need a waiver because there is no sidewalk and you can't define what the
Correct.
zone is.
Because,
Correct.
yeah,
Okay. All
the
right.
arrangement here is slightly different.
Got it, thank you.
The next one says the length of sidewalk to the parking area shouldn't be any longer than 100 feet. Currently, we're at 109 feet, and that's just because we had to comply with the footprint of the house to be, the front of the house to be consistent with the neighbors. So we had to put the placement closest to Roberts Avenue. And then the parking area actually did get reduced. It was actually further when the parking spots were back closer to the alley. But then we moved the parking spots up more, so you have a better turning radius. And the end result is 109 feet. So the only other way to comply with this 100-foot would be to move all the parking spots up, which would then, you know, make it more impervious coverage. So the waiver is much better than take up all that extra impervious coverage.
Okay.
Number 15, minimum required buffer width of 50 foot. 50-foot wide buffer would render the property undevelopable because the only property only consists of 59.5 feet on frontage along, Roberts. So we just couldn't comply with that because of again, that's one that would apply to a large land development, but not something this small. Then we have the requirements. This is under grading, erosion, stormwater management, and best management practices. Requirements of edges of slopes to be a minimum of 5 foot from the property line or the right-of-way lines. There's no major changes of the existing topography to create slopes adjacent to the property lines or right-of-way lines. The grading establishing both lawn landscaping will be required to permit a smooth transition to the existing grades. So I'm not 100% sure really how this comes into play, but it's about a major grading from the property, and we're not really changing any of the grading, and it's a relatively flat lot. So there shouldn't be really any major slopes there. But
Krista, can you shed a little more light on this one?
Sure. This would come into play, say if you were adding a lot of fill right up against the property line, and then that might over time round. But when you're keeping the grade, essentially, you're not going to have that possibility. Additionally, they're planting a lot of trees in that 5-foot area, so they need to disturb it to do the plantings.
Okay, thank you.
Number 2 says a requirement of storm drainage pipes to be a minimum of 18 inches of reinforced concrete pipe. Yeah, that's just an overkill for what we're doing. So the only thing we're doing is we're taking the storm drains, the leaders from the downspout drains, and you use 4-inch piping, and we use 4-inch piping to go into the stormwater basin. So an 18-inch pipe would be something you would use in a highway or a large highway, not a residential house. And this is another one of those overlaps of land development and this size development.
You're looking to replace that with 6-inch PVC?
either, I forget what the plan is for, 6 inch. 6 inch, yeah, 6 inch to run into the seepage bed, yes.
I'll turn to Krista again.
That is correct.
All right, any,
And it's acceptable for this application.
great, thank you.
And I think that's it.
Okay.
I had a question about the park, I'm gonna go back to the parking, because I know we talked about the parking was going to go up against one particular neighbor's property line. I'm assuming you've had a conversation with that particular neighbor, and I don't know if they're here or not, but do you know if there's an issue with that piece of the plan with respect to the neighbors?
I don't believe so. They might be here tonight to answer that, but these were the same plans that we, when we did all the zoning of relief, and they were out for multiple. This is the same plan for the multiple meetings that we have had.
Okay.
So, I didn't.
So
There was
no.
nothing that came directly to me to say that there was a problem with that.
Okay.
And like I said, we're limited on space and where else you could do it. The only other place you could try to do it is move spots off of Hollowell Street and try to pull them in there, and then that's going to really mess up the flow of traffic and backing out onto a street versus backing out onto an alley. This is the place that it made the most sense.
And then in terms of the 6 spaces, it sounds like you're allocating 2 cars per unit.
That's correct.
What about parties, guests? I mean, people have people over. Did you have any plan, or based on the neighborhood, where would people park if they had guests?
They would just park on street, just like pretty much any of the other neighbors. There's a few houses that have larger driveways that could put maybe more parking in, but most of a lot of the houses, they have no driveways, and some that do have usually 2 spots per.
Okay.
So it would be the same scenario. If anybody else had a party, you would just park on the street.
On the street. And then you talked about, during your presentation, something about condos, but I don't know that you really elaborated on whether
Sure.
you were considering that or not. But
So when we first do it, and it's a multifamily, it generally could be apartments. And the zoning board said, hey, would you consider, because of, like, when you have condos and it's permanent residences.
Right, you sell them and it's finished.
Yeah, and then you don't have the influx of renters and things of that sort. So we agreed to make them all condos. So when we do the building plans and whatnot, we'll have to be able to submit the condo documents to the township for review to accept that, and then they'll have a homeowners association that'll take care of any common space. But each unit will have its own separate parcel number and be able to sold individually.
Okay. That's all I got.
Is there any other board comment or questions?
Charlie, on the parking, can you explain how you get to a requirement of 5 spots for what is essentially a 9-bedroom unit?
Our ordinance does not do parking based on dwelling size. It does it based on dwelling type. So apartments, multifamily, which this is considered, requires 1.5 spaces per unit. So that's how we get to 4.5 or round up to 5. And as Rob mentioned, they added 6 to do. Each one would have 2. It's the same way we do single-family house. They're required to have 2 per unit. And that's not dependent on the size of the house.
So 2 per a single-family house.
Correct.
1.5
per
per
multifamily.
unit regardless of size.
Correct.
So if you looked at this as 3 single-family houses, you
Well-
basically get to 6 spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Before I open it up to public comment, I surmise there are many folks that want to speak, and I just want to remind you that our limit is 3 minutes, and we want to give everybody an opportunity. And the other piece is, as Supervisor Manuel talked about, we're really focused on the waivers tonight. And I know one of you mentioned you might have some pictures for us to share and things of that nature, but we're definitely gonna focus on those waivers. That's what we're here for tonight. I'm opening it up for public comment.
Just to follow up on that, it's to your benefit to use your 3 minutes wisely and to focus on the waivers, because there's no other issue before us tonight.
And just a reminder to let us know your name and your address so we know where you are.
Hi, my name is Kathy Burke. I live at 221 Roberts, so I'm two doors down from this apartment complex that they're proposing. I know that we're not here to discuss the zoning and the shenanigans that went on during that process, but I just would like to say I'm going to give a little bit of background because I haven't heard it discussed in any of the meetings thus far. I'm not asking to rehash, but I will have a little preamble, and I will take my 3 minutes and I will sit down. In January 2015, upon the recommendation of the Planning Commission, the Whitemarsh Township Board of Supervisors unanimously voted to amend the Chapter 16 zoning map to rezone all lots fronting on Roberts Avenue between Hollowell Street and Durant Street from CRH Commercial Retail District High to B Residential District, B Residential District. According to publicly available information, this was a township-initiated rezoning. The stated intent of the rezoning was to reduce the number of non-conforming uses, make it easier for homeowners to add additions, and make the zoning consistent with the remainder of the surrounding Cedar Heights neighborhood. In my research, I did not find information about carve-outs for particular parcels to remain commercial in perpetuity, nor did I find indications that some parcels were designated as apartment house district or attached dwelling districts. With regard to the apartment complex proposed for 201 Roberts Avenue, I agree with my neighbors' concerns about traffic safety, pedestrian safety, on-street parking, density of the development, and impact on the character of the neighborhood. Additionally, the prospect of a lighted parking lot, which I know he said he doesn't think that there's going to be lighting, a lighted parking lot at the back of the property and a lighted walkway along the side neighbor's property line seems not great to me. I live one door away from there, and that light will be also on my backyard. I am concerned that the garbage generated from 3 families accumulating on one property between weekly trash pickup will attract rodents and pests. And lastly, I am wondering about potential hazards caused by increased stormwater runoff and pooling in a retention basin, or conversely, the effect of any hazards that can occur as the runoff streams its way downhill. Our street is a hill. I am heartened by the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny the developer's plan as a preliminary and final minor land development plan, and to deny the 15 subdivision and land development code waivers, and to deny the 2 grading, erosion control, stormwater management, and best management practices codes waivers. And I urge you all to follow the recommendation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who would like to come on up?
Yeah, I know you're trying to limit what's being discussed, but I have some issues with the behavior of some of the township officials, and I have documentation. You've seen some of the documentation, and I've given you letters throughout this process, and I haven't heard anything from anybody. So I have official documents. They've already been documents of record, and I have done the courtesy of making copies, and I'd like you to have them in your hands while I'm talking about them. Is that okay?
Your name and address, just for the record?
198 East North Lane.
And your name?
James Pickle. I'm sorry. This is my first time in one of these meetings, hopefully the last. So is it okay to distribute these?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
I don't know if you guys want to. I have other copies you guys can distribute back here. I had a 30-minute presentation, but I'll try to get it really cut way down for you guys.
You got three.
So yeah, I've been a 30-plus year resident of Whitemarsh Township. And the residents have, constantly maintained through this whole process and proven that the township was wrong in extending the commercial use of 201 Roberts Avenue. Now, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Now, regarding the reason why I removed the appeal was that throughout this whole process, we've been threatened that they can use this same footprint and put a warehouse. And I'm not going to be the guy to make that worse for the residents here. And that's the only reason why I removed that appeal. Not because it was not without merit, and we've shown it again and again that it is. So, anyway, if you look at Exhibit A, it proves that the township actually lied about the existence of zoning documents to obstruct my inquiry. Charlie knew exactly what documents I was looking for. This is about a very contentious thing with the fire hall. It was huge. And about the rezoning of the area. And then Exhibit B, number 2, highlight areas show confirmation of obstruction and intent to mislead. And Section 3 describes the township's attempt to conceal when Mr. Gutenplan granted multi-unit status for 201 Roberts. He also bypassed the Planning Commission or a public hearing regarding this and snuck it in 1 week before the new language took in effect. And this is not the actions of a public servant that is being honest and representing our needs. So then Exhibit C, this is what they tried to conceal. This is the one that she was talking about where the rezoning, I believe. The declaration was designed to prevent this scenario from happening, as was learned from the firehouse fiasco. Similar situation. They couldn't prove activity for a year, and then it fell apart. Now, in that case, the township had an out. But this time, it's even a bigger mess with no easy way out this time. So Exhibit E is a letter from the builder's lawyer requesting multi-unit use. And according to previous testimony from Matt Hollenbach, there is only one commercial business use registered currently, and is a retail florist, and not a separate commercial greenhouse use. So their idea of stacking 3 uses is not valid either, and they offered no proof of a second use at previous meetings. So to conclude this, we've consistently asked for and proven that a single-family residence is the only appropriate option in this site. And Mr. Ratoski has stated, again, many times, that if this is turned down, they may build a warehouse instead. And obviously, again, nobody wants that. And now, what's strange is Mr. Ratoski has not lied to me, has not tried to deceive me. He's been honest with my discussions, and he's been always answering the phone and always answering questions. And that has not been my experience with township officials. And I wasn't very nice at the first meeting to Mr. Ratoski, and I feel bad about that. But, there have been some threats, granted, but this whole thing with this commercial continuation has allowed the threats and allowed this whole host of things that never should have been considered. And that document, and like I said, the intention was clear at that document when all the zoning was changed to residential. Incredibly clear. No exceptions were actually mentioned, which could have been. They could have said about exceptions in grandfathered situations, and they didn't. They said none. So I know you guys are volunteers and you're trying to do the right thing, but this is gone way too long. This is 2 years. This is one of the most stressful things I've ever had to deal with. And I'm all about doing the right thing, and I hope you are too. And for everybody here, this is a character-defining moment. Simply turning this down without fixing the mistakes and then having them come back with some warehouse idea, as they say they will do, is not taking care of the problem and is not doing the right thing. The footprint that he's proposing is better than the current footprint, yes, and we've worked together with the footprint. It's the density has always been the issue. 9 freaking bedrooms. You know that's wrong for this site in a single-family home area. And that's always been the issue. If we get a single family, if he comes back with a single-family home on that site, I don't think you'll get a peep out of any of us. It'll be better. Their first proposal was 2 houses, which was absolutely ridiculous. So there's a solution to be found here. Teardowns in the area are going for $400,000 to $450,000. I think they paid $315,000 for this, and there's still money to be made, just not on our backs, and having to look at whatever congestion and problems there are, and no 2-lane access like there has always been in our street, and that is not fair to us in any way. So, we elected you in good faith, and this is the time to give us some good faith in return. This is it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you all for coming out, too.
Is there any other public comment? Come on up.
My name's Danielle Ramirez. I live at 225 Summit Avenue. I've been to all of these meetings. I know that, much like my neighbors have said, the talk about that we need to really focus on the waivers. What I'd like to say to that is that this has gone through 2 different other boards or committees, and the reality is that both of those committees did not want to approve these plans. The zoning board, I would invite you to look back at the minutes. And on 4/2/2025, the board said that they would have leaned toward not approving, but that there was a withdrawal petition from the closest neighbors here. Well, James Pickle was one of those neighbors that withdrew it. And he's telling you right now that he felt like there was no alternative because of the bullying tactics that were here by Mr. Ratowski. And I would also invite you, excuse me.
You'll have an opportunity.
I would invite you to, every person in this room who were at those meetings will attest to that, besides Mr. Ratowski. But additionally, it's in the minutes, so I don't have to, okay? And so what I'm telling you is that to put the onus on me, we already know the planning board did not recommend the waiver, so that's 2 bodies that basically said this was a bad idea. And
What was the first body that said it?
The zoning board. They said this in their meeting. They said, board said they would have leaned toward not approving the zoning, but that they only did it because of the withdrawal petition.
But they did it. You're asking us to reverse a decision of the zoning hearing board that we have no authority to do.
So let me ask a question as a person who, this is not my realm, okay? I'm just a common person. Explain to me who is in charge of that board. Who, if they're doing something inappropriate, who is actually supposed to be holding them accountable?
Sean?
So the zoning hearing board is separate than this body.
Okay.
This body appoints the zoning hearing board. They have terms. They're staggered members. Their solicitor is actually appointed by the zoning hearing board by law, because this body and the zoning hearing board could actually take different legal opinions. That happens occasionally from time to time. So if you're not happy with Mr. Guttenplan's decision or determination, you appeal that to the zoning hearing board. If you don't like the zoning hearing board's decision, you appeal that to the Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas.
Yeah, and let me explain to you what happens to a person who does that, okay? A common person who appeals to Montgomery County is then responsible for obviously all of those legal fees that are associated with this, right? I'm a person, I have a household that 2 people work, 3 kids, okay? I don't have a lot of extra money. And then what happens is, and someone will attest to this otherwise because it did happen, they get countersued. They get countersued by the builder and says, hey, we don't think what you're saying is truthful, so put up a $10,000 bond or whatever. What's 100? $100,000 bond. How is that? And I know this is not what today is about, because I'll be coming back about this. How is a $100,000 bond a normal thing for a person? So it's 10,000, right? You need 10% of that for just a common person to have to fork over. That's not appropriate. And that leaves you in a horrible position. And what I guess I'm saying is, okay, yes, they approved it, but the language behind, if you read the minutes, would say that they wouldn't have approved it. These people felt put in a corner, and that's why they approved it. And then the Planning Commission is telling you that they're not think it's a good idea. And so why am I now supposed to stand up here and explain to you why the waivers are not a good idea as a person who has no background in waivers or whatever it is? That's silly. So what I'm going to tell you is that if you looked at all of the things lined up here, is that this community does not want that. We did ask the developer if they could. I think we actually at one point said, can you do a 2-unit? Right? Oh, we'll just give in, right? Can you at least do 2 units? Absolutely not. No way. I know how much the buildings sell for. I know how much he paid for it. I don't know how much he's invested so far in it, whatever. Why is I'll say it again, I said it in all the other places. Business people go into business, they sometimes make bad business choices. That's just part of being in business. You have failures sometimes. Why is this community responsible for his bad business decision? We're not.
Is there any other public comment?
I guess I'll go next since I was the one who got
Come
sued or whatever.
Come on up.
My name's Lindsay Blazninski. I live at 252 Roberts Avenue. That property was the former Lincoln Firehouse. So my husband and I, we did not buy that home and we weren't part of these meetings, but we've been informed over the years of what happened, and having the community rally together and have a voice and participate in these meetings does make an impact. Because I live in a single family home in a community that's zoned residential single family. So there is power in community and voice here. I don't know if it's appropriate for my 3 minutes to start because I do have questions. And we didn't have, we went right from from the builder to public comment. Am I going to have an opportunity to ask questions of the builder and you know?
This is an opportunity for public comment.
Okay, all right, so I guess I'll just do hypothetical questions then, so they could go on public record. My first, and because I was the individual that was named in the zoning hearing board, I guess my first question is, when it got to planning, and that I know is the purpose of this evening, to talk about the waivers from the planning, one of the committee members of the planning asked, why is it coming to us now when it already went to zoning? Because we advise and make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, and the zoning's already been handled. So I don't understand why Mr. Rutowski and Mr. Trainer went to zoning first. I never understood that. And I, like Danielle will tell you, I am not a subject matter expert at local government, but I've learned a lot because of this process, that because it went to zoning and because that's a quasi-judicial entity, that everyone in this room and other people who cannot attend, because these meetings keep happening at the end of the school year and vacation season, so there's more people that feel as strongly as I do that aren't here right now. Those folks, every single one of us should have went to Montgomery County Courthouse and filed an appeal. And as an individual, we are not businesses. We don't have attorneys on retainer. That is not how normal people operate. If that's how our society and this township now operates, that we should have an attorney on a retainer every time we want to go to a night meeting and have a concern about the development in this community. And it's not just Roberts Ave, it's this whole Whitemarsh area. You will hear from me again. I am a concerned resident. So is it reasonable that it went to zoning before planning? I would say no, but I would love to know why that happened, because there are concerns, and you should all know my name because I've emailed. Before it ever got to a final decision to try to talk to you, to try to get some resolution. I tried emailing, individually, Chair Toll, Supervisor Shelley, like what you guys ran on before you were elected. I tried having a conversation with you before you even got elected so you knew how this community felt, that this isn't just one property. And I would love, my other question to all of you is, have you been in Cedar Heights? Like, have you walked and driven down our neighborhood to know exactly where this former greenhouse? And the other reason why they probably went to zoning first is because in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, with the new law, the LLCs, businesses have to file a report to show if it's active or not active. And that would show for this tax year. And his zoning's gonna expire next month. So he went there first, I guess. I don't know, I didn't get to ask the question. I would love to know, why didn't planning get to have their day? Because when I emailed Chief Ward and our township manager to ask for a meeting outside of the because Chief Ward has met with me before to sit down and talk about stop signs. I asked, can we talk about the density? Can we talk about the traffic safety concerns that this development, whatever happens here, we need some back and forth. We need collaboration. Do you know what I was told by Chief Ward? That your day will come with planning, not zoning. It's gonna happen in planning. Planning didn't touch it. So now our hope is to you. So that's why prior to this meeting, a few days ago, I emailed you the meeting transcripts that the neighbors and I had to pay for, that are public record. We weren't treated very kindly at the township building for the right to know process, okay? And again, I don't know local law, learned a lot, but I think as individuals we could treat each other with professionalism and courtesy, and we had to pay for right to know documents. That things that are public documents, we had to pay for them. Close to $1,000. So I hope you read them. I hope you see the tone. I hope you see that the perception of bullying, it is perceived as bullying, because then when I got this quote unquote countersuit of $100,000, like that doesn't feel good. That does not feel good. So my things with the waivers, we have an issue. Also, I've called and had emails about this too. There's an issue on that block with our sewer lines. So what does that do? What kind of study do we know that our neighbors that are already having their basements flooded with sewer, what is this development, nine bedrooms, all those people, because life is expensive, so, and nothing against renters, love them, but like, you're gonna have people in there using the bathrooms. What's that gonna do to everyone on that block? And he talks about the sidewalks, the parking, everything like that, those waivers. There's only one neighbor that has a driveway. Hallowell, again, I don't know, we didn't get to go back and forth to ask questions. Hallowell, you turn into our neighborhood, that's a major thoroughway into our community. So, and right now, again, I tried to meet with Chief Ward about it to get ahead of this, but it's zoned currently to park on both sides. But it's not wide enough. If two cars are coming and there's a car parked on just one side, you're gonna have accidents. One of my neighbors just got in an accident coming off North Lane, turning in on Hallowell with her small children in the car. There are concerns. It's why we came to these meetings. It's why we've tried to work with the township outside of these meetings. And no one, you want me to talk about waivers, but there's been concerns that haven't been addressed. They just haven't been addressed. There's environmental concerns when it comes to these waivers, that to the density, the sidewalks. We're 2 blocks from that nature trail. I could point out to the number of neighbors that have had deer in their yard, eating their shrubbery, had to call animal control because there's a deer stuck in their fence, and they had to kill it and hope the kids don't see the deer die. Like, what are we doing to make this community better? I don't think 9 bedrooms is gonna do that. I know I'm getting to time, but you know, a countersuit of $100,000, I feel like I get my minute here. Also, separate to, there was, again, I'll send an email, I promise I will. I need a little clarity from the township on that alley, that private public. My husband and I, we purchased in November, I guess that was 2020, and was told a different thing about the alleys. We were told by the, I guess, the former township manager that that's actually township property, and that the neighbors have to maintain it because we have like the privilege of access to it. So I feel like maybe that's different than what you cited. I don't know. I need a little clarification on that, which I think goes to the waivers. But there's definitely environmental density. We need an agenda item, and I think I've previously emailed the township manager to talk in front of you as a community, not just about one specific property here. We need to do better together on responsible and ethical development in this township. And that's what my ask is, and I'll send a follow-up email so it's official and get on, but you are gonna have, this is not about just 201 Roberts. There needs to be ethical and responsible and environmentally conscientious and things. I don't even know how many children are in this neighborhood from when it was previously zoned to now, but we need to do better for them and make it a safe place to live. And North Lane, not safe. Chief Ward got an email about that. Someone got hit. I emailed PennDOT. I told Representative or Supervisor Shelley, if she gets elected, she'll hear from me again. Because this is not just about 201. We have bigger issues, and as a community, we could collaborate with surrounding townships and make this a better place to live. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment?
JC, can I ask?
Oh, yes. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Sean, can I ask a question just about the process? Because I think that part of the comment was related to a process, and it would be helpful for me to understand the flow from zoning hearing to planning to shade tree. Can you talk a little bit about like why it goes in that order?
Well, it's the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code basically gives you the option of going either to planning or zoning first. Often we townships encourage folks to go to a zoning hearing board first because a lot of the zoning issues, specifically usually around use and such, are much more serious.
Okay.
So before you get to any other part of the process, it's often best to resolve those kind of issues. As far as shade tree, the Planning Commission, these are all bodies that get to weigh in before it comes to this board.
Right.
Those are only advisory bodies. Ultimately, it's this board, informed by these decisions, that decides whether to grant waivers on land development issues or not. I don't know if Mr. Guttenplan had anything else beyond what I said.
I was just going to say that the zoning issues need to get resolved before anybody else looks at it, or
Yeah.
they're looking at it for no reason.
Right.
If the zoning issues don't get resolved, then they're reviewing a plan that can't move forward. The other thing I wanted to say about shade tree, whether shade tree or planning commission come first is really kind of up in the air, but our planning commission has made it clear that they prefer to have the shade tree commission recommendation before they see it. So in most cases, we try and get it to shade tree before the planning commission.
And to be clear, my understanding is that planning and shade tree advise only this board. They do not advise zoning hearings.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Just to confirm, because they did say something different. Sorry, Katie Finley, 242 Roberts. But I was in the planning committee, and they said that they do often attend when it's for residential use. And that's what they said. They said that they often attend, and I don't know.
They
That
may
is just what
attend
they
as
said.
individual residents. They don't attend as a member of the planning commission.
I don't know. That is what they said. I don't know why they would have said. They said that to you, I believe, when they were there. But anyway, sorry. Any other questions?
No, thanks, Sean. I'm good.
Okay. Again, Katie Finley, 242 Roberts. I live there with my 2 young children and my husband. Related to, I want to echo everything my neighbors have said and really appreciate them, in many cases taking the lead on this. We did experience twice in the last 2 years, we've lived there since 2021, twice in the last, I'd say 18 months, we've experienced significant sewer issues on our street. So while I heard there was some, again, not familiar with all the variances and things, but that there was a request to use the existing information related to utilities. I am concerned about that, adding more toilets and things, as folks mentioned, given I personally have experienced significant disruption in my house. We work from home. We have 2 little kids that are home 24/7, so that is a challenge. Also related to density that my neighbors have mentioned, I'm very concerned about, where folks are now going to be parking. As you mentioned, when there's guests over, where are they possibly going to be parking? Already, our street has a ton of cars that park down either side. I've had to train my children to go down the side across from this property in order to not get hit by cars. We were the car that got hit pulling into our neighborhood. There's way more traffic there than was ever intended. There's not enough stop signs. We almost hit pedestrians while we got rear-ended. It was very scary. And my 2 little children were in the car. So I am concerned here with having more cars and more people in that space on our street in particular. Very happy if it would be a single-family home. I'm happy to see that there is some parking, but I don't think it does enough for what this property will be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Come on up.
Jordan Klein, 271 Roberts. I'll try to keep this relevant to the waivers. So if we walk backward from the waivers tonight, some of the waivers are being sought by the property owner because this is a land development. He has said before seeking those waivers, almost as an icebreaker, it's the second time I've heard him say it, this is the smallest land development you'll ever see. And there's 2 things related to that, lot size and density. He purchased a 0.2 acre L-shaped lot. That was a choice. That's lot size. Density, he chose to do 3 units instead of 2. It's my understanding based on his comments tonight, if he had stuck to 2 units, this would not go to land development. So some of those waivers would not be in front of you today. Instead of you voting for all of those to be approved, I feel like the builder does have options to make this a better option in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other public comment? Come on up.
Karen Ondas, 230 Roberts Avenue. I am thanking every one of you for your volunteering here. I would like you to volunteer one day to stop over on Roberts Avenue, have a cup of coffee, a piece of cake, and see what we're all talking about. That's all I ask of you, because I have a feeling none of you have gone down that street to see what goes on. Every time I pull out of Hollowell Street onto North Lane, I say a prayer. Every time. So that's all I'm asking. Please, before you make a decision tonight on any waivers, take a ride down that street and see what we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, Lisa Puser, 279 Roberts Ave. Been there 17 years this year. My concerns have been for traffic and space because it is a very, very small property. But now that I'm hearing all my neighbors talk about sewage issues, I know I'm in a very old house, but we've had 2 recently, and this is now just in the forefront of my mind that it can't be a good change to add all these people to our block. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment?
David Diliberto, 225 Summit Avenue. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I encourage the board to deny these waivers requests. Our zoning ordinances exist for a reason. They help preserve the character of our neighborhoods and ensure that development's compatible with the surrounding communities. This proposal is for a 3-family dwelling in a neighborhood that, excuse me, that has long been made up of a single-family homes. It simply does not fit our character of the area, and many of the residents who live here have come together to express the concerns. We elected our local officials to represent the people of our community and uphold the standards and have established through our local ordinance. Deny these waivers would demonstrate that those standards matter and that the voices of your constituents are being heard. If this applicant can truly construct a 3-family home on this property without needing any of these waivers, then I would say he has some of the incredible talented engineers and designers and would genuinely be impressed. But the fact that he is asking for multiple waivers is being requested and suggests that the project does not comply and the rules of everyone else is expected to follow. I respectfully ask the board to uphold the intended and the zoning code, deny the request of the waivers, and help preserve the character and the integrity of our neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other public comment? Come on up.
Good evening, Sidel Zove, Harts Ridge Road. Obviously, I'm not an immediate neighbor. However, I'm very sympathetic to the challenges that are before this community. As I've said before, most of the issues surrounding development in this township start with the zoning hearing board, and they're what I would call bad decisions made without consideration of the township's comprehensive plan, which was recently updated. And I think that's what happened here. It's also what happened at the David's Bridal site down by the river, where we're going to see 47 townhouses built in a flood zone. I would like to suggest that these waivers be denied, particularly the waivers surrounding setback requirements, buffering, and sidewalks. These are significant issues that are addressed in the comprehensive plan. And the fact that there will not be sidewalks here and that the setbacks will not be adhered to and the buffering will not be adhered to flies in the face of the considerable thought that went into the development of the comprehensive plan. I would urge you to deny the waivers and to suggest strongly to the developer that he go back to the drawing board and come back to you with a by right development. By right meaning one that does not require significant waivers. This plan is inappropriate, unacceptable, and should be denied. Thank you.
Was there any other public comment?
I have a question. I have an infirmed neighbor. She's blind and couldn't be here, but she wrote a letter. Is it something I can submit to you? I feel it's important for her.
You can submit it to the manager.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep. You can give it to Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
On record, so we can hear it?
Yes, we can hear it.
Is that acceptable? It's short. It's not 3 minutes. It's
Is that permissible?
It's up to you. It's not normally what we do here in Whitemarsh. We just submit. You want to
Yeah.
read?
We accept it?
Bring it up. I'll read
Yeah.
it. Thank you. All right. Dear Board of Supervisors, I'm a neighbor on Hallowell Street. Both my husband and myself signed a petition before about this property. We don't want this big 3-story unit apartment building on the corner of Robert and Hallowell Street. Look around. There are no apartment buildings around here. There are only single-family homes in this area. The lot is not big enough for a 3-story apartment building. There will not be enough parking on the street. This is going to be ruined, our neighborhood, and the values of our home. Thank you, Wayne and Nancy Copstick, 1616 Hallowell Street. And they signed it. Is there any other public comment?
Nothing online.
Is there any other board comment or questions?
He dialed in, he was flying.
Is he online?
Yeah, he's online, I'll just see, make sure.
If he wants to speak, he's going to write into the chat.
Yeah, he can certainly type into the chat too, if he's not able to speak.
He normally lets the speaker be my part. I take more than 3 minutes.
Smart man.
Oh, I think is chat's disabled on mobile. Oh, so, I don't know.
Are folks able to unmute?
He got stuck because of the storm flying home.
So he's not on?
I don't think he'll be able to.
Oh.
Okay.
He said, I just wanted to echo his happy thoughts on walking in the neighborhood. I think
Okay.
he had parents.
Yep. Thank you. I really want to thank everyone who came out tonight for this project and all of the things that we've heard. We have heard a lot of information from a lot of you tonight, and we're going to need some time to review this. So I'm going to make a motion to table SLD 02-26 until the next regular meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm also going to just make a suggestion. I'm wondering if between now and the next meeting, and I know that you've spoken, I know the applicant has spoken to the neighbors, I know the neighbors have spoken to the applicant, I'm going to suggest perhaps getting together again before the next meeting and having some more conversations and seeing if there are some ways to meet in the middle. I'm going to just put that suggestion out there. And I have been to your area. I don't live far. And you'll see me again. I'll be walking around. So, all right, I'll hold you to it. All right. Thank you. All right, moving down to resolutions. Do I have a motion to authorize the award for the 2026 road program to N. Abanizio Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $952,054.90?
So moved. Second.
I'm going to hand it over to Krista Heinrich.
Good evening. On July 3rd, bids were publicly opened for the 2026 road improvements project. We had 5 bidders, and N. Abanizio Contractors was the apparent low bidder in the amount of $952,054.90 for the combination of the base bid plus alternates 2 and 4. For this project, the base bid was all of the ADA ramps in the neighborhood. Alternate 2 was resurfacing of certain roads. Alternate 3 was resurfacing of other roads that didn't meet this budget but will be deferred to next year. And then alternate 4 was the striping and pavement markings. So we would ask that you authorize that award to N. Abanizio Contractors.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the advertisement for an ordinance for parking restrictions during school hours on Marble Lane from Fairway Road to the dead end and Indian Guide Road from Marble Lane extending 250 feet north?
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to hand it over to Craig McAnally.
Yes, the police were receiving several complaints during the school year from the residents in the area of Marble Lane and Indian Guide Road, where students were parking on the streets in front of their residence. They went down, took a look at it, they talked to the residents. They did a study, the traffic safety unit did a study down there. They determined that it would be prudent to put restricted parking on the streets that we mentioned earlier. It'll be their recommendation is a 2-hour parking limit from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. during school hours. So in order to put the signs up and be enforceable, we need to pass an ordinance. So the traffic safety unit is recommending advertising this ordinance so we can have this in place and installed by the beginning of the school year. Well, September 2026.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? Come on up, Tom.
Tom Dahl, Fairway Road. What's going to end up happening, because what happened last year when that sign went up for the 2-hour parking, is what happens is the kids park on Fairway Road. And where they're parking is right at the junction of Marble and Fairway, where the curve is. If you come down Fairway Road, the road kind of bends to the right. And what ends up happening is because cars are parked on both sides of the street, you have one lane of traffic that gets through there. And many times you can't see around that corner. And people are coming around that corner so fast. So all we're doing is we're removing a problem from Marble Lane down onto Fairway. And really the answer should be to go back to the school district and say those kids should be parking in the parking lot up by Victory Fields. There's plenty of parking that faces those fields that they're not using. So that's what I think they should be doing. You know, you're just going to transfer one problem, and people in our neighborhood are going to come back to you once they see those kids parked there. Now, last year what ended up happening, there were a lot less cars that were parked. After those stop signs went up, whereas before along that street, you'd probably have anywhere from, I don't know, 8 to 12 cars on any given day. And it dropped down to probably 5 to 7, you know, on Fairway. But really what they're going to be doing is parking on Fairway. And it's going to create a problem on Fairway Road. And already you've got people that use Fairway Road as a cut-through. And the other problem you have there, and I'm sure the chief should look at this, is when people are dropping kids off, they don't want to go into the high school parking lot to drop the kids off. So instead what they do is they drop them off right at the corner of Indian Guide and Marble. And there's a traffic jam there. I walk the dog in the morning, I can tell you. I should probably take pictures of it when school comes in. And because the people can't get out of the parking lot. And it's easier for them to go out through Fairway, up Marianne, and out to Joshua. And that's how they go. So I think you're just kicking the can down the road. You know, I think the issue should be we go back to the school district and say, hey, make an announcement that the kids can't park in that neighborhood.
Well, who's going to enforce that?
What's that?
Who is going to enforce that?
Well, I don't know. Eventually there's going to be accidents, you know, because you cannot see around that corner, and cars come by there so fast, and they're going through this little angle, and I think what's going to end up happening is cars are going to get sideswiped.
So are you suggesting we do nothing?
I'm suggesting you put 2-hour parking along that whole section.
On Fairway Road as well?
Yeah, up to Marquee. Really, if they wanted to park on Marquee, that's probably a better spot for them to park, to be honest with you. Now, don't tell my neighbors on Marquee, but you've got only a few houses that are on Marquee, and you've got plenty of street parking on that one side.
Talk about kicking the can down the road.
Well, I mean, it's a problem, right?
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Well, I think this is a start to solve that problem.
What happens when the other neighbors come back, when the people that are living down there come back and say, would you put 2-hour parking along Fairway Road?
Then the chief needs to look at it.
I think he should look at it now. I mean, I'm surprised that he's not taking that into consideration and putting those signs up as it is. The road's too narrow.
Suggest it to him.
He's not here tonight.
Nope.
Otherwise I would have.
You know his number.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any board comment or questions? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the execution of an easement agreement with property owners at 110 Cedar Grove Road, Conshohocken, for a portion of a parking lot on their property for the Wells Street Trailhead project?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McAnally.
Yes, this is, we've discussed this in the past, and we are still working on the easement agreement. The Well Street project is underway. However, they're further into the woods. They're putting the bridge, well, getting ready to put the bridge in and working their way out. The solicitor's office is working with the homeowner, and we think we are just about there with an agreement that would allow us to install parking spots on their property to be used for the Well Street trailhead parking, along with Cedar Grove Park. So we're just asking that we get the authorization to execute the easement agreement once it is fully reviewed by the solicitor's office and ready to go.
Thank you. So is there any other board comment? Is there any public comment? Come on up.
Hi, Kathy Burke, Roberts Drive, or Avenue. I don't know if this is an appropriate place to ask a question, but are they saying they're going to put a pedestrian bridge across? Is there ever any thought given to doing similar thing for North Lane? Just because it's really dangerous. I cross over there. There's 2 parks on the other side. I take my granddaughter to. It's just not pleasant. It would be great if there could be something done about the traffic situation on North Lane as well. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm going to hand it over to Angela Maida-Long for the Finance Director's Mid-Year Budget Report for 2026.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so basically what I did was for the budget, mid-year budget report was to identify those line items, or rather groups of line items, and parse them out into significantly above the budget pace or significantly below, and then pretty much the same thing with the expenditures, whatever was on the high side, whatever was on the low side, or a little bit lower. So if we start here with the revenues under the significantly above, we can see mercantile tax is up. Those are due May 1st. We budgeted $827,000. We've collected to date approximately $1 million. And basically, yes, we're 124% above the budget. Nothing, it's a revenue, so there's nothing concerning, basically, is what I'm saying for that one. Charges for services, we're at 282% of the budget. So our budget is $50,000. We've collected $141,000. That one definitely is high, at 282%. I would have to dig further into it because there's a handful of line items that go into that particular category. Payment in lieu of taxes, 116%. Our budget is $60,000. We're at $69,000. Not significantly high. I was able to identify there were 2 accounts that we actually billed a little early, so that's what makes up the difference on that one. And then just going down, you can clearly see where we are. Let's see. Significantly below amusement tax, that one, so 2026 we're budgeted $98,000. We've only collected $6,413. Looking into that a little bit further, as I reached out to Tri-State, we're waiting for 2 returns on that one, and once we receive those, because these are due monthly, on or before the 10th day of the following month of those sales, so we should be back up to our normal amount for the year. And then just going down, rent and franchise fees, local services tax. Then if you go into the expenditures, you see the higher than expected spending. So that one, the Public Works Construction and Reconstruction, that one, we're at 140% of the budget. This is our largest expenditure to date. This, I would definitely say, you know, we can drill down into further, because this makes up, there's a handful of different categories that go into that one. Building Department, we're at 63%. And then lower than expected spending in engineering, we're at 20%. The ambulance is basically the lowest. Public Works, street cleaning, snow removal, storm sewer, so all of those are clearly seasonal. Our debt service, that's on point. But after taking a look at everything, looking at our revenues and expenditures, the general fund appears healthy. All the departments are operating reasonably close to their expected mid-year spending levels. Our revenues did increase from 2024 to 2025 by 15.64%, and then they decreased by $400,000 or 3.2% from 2025 to 2026. Our expenses did also increase by $482,000 from 2024 to 2025, and then increased again by $345,000 from 25 to current. Overall, our revenues experienced a strong increase in 2025 and declined slightly in 2026, while the expenses increased steadily in both years. But even with 2026 decline in the revenues, we continued to generate revenues that exceeded the expenses by approximately $3.21 million in 2026, compared with $3.95 in 2025, and then the $2.74 in 2024.
So question for you.
Yes.
This data looks at a point in time, end of 6 months, comparing it to budget. In that period, so there's actually two questions. In that period, what did the trend look like? And number two, what do you forecast the trend to look like for the next 6 months?
Okay. Now, this is something I could do, so for the trends, projected trends, I did not do projections, but I can take a look at that. And I'm sorry, what was your other question?
What was the trend in the first 6 months? Did we have a spike, and that spike caused some of these differences from budget, or did we have a continual trend in the first 6 months that led to these numbers, be it positive or negative?
For revenues and expenses?
Yeah.
I could, well, that's,
pick the outliers, the big ones. You don't
yeah,
have to
and
do all of them.
that's basically what you see on the memo for the revenues and the expenses. But each of those categories are made up of like charges for services. So that's made up of multiple different line items. I don't know exactly what they are because I don't have that information in front of me, and I'm still learning all of it.
Sure.
But I can find out what those individual things are and try to get the answers for those individual ones.
Yeah, I'd just like to try to understand what's driving the variances.
Gotcha. Yep, I can absolutely look into that.
And that'll tell us if we have a continuing problem or not.
Yep, I can absolutely look into that for you. And I did start gathering information. Like I reached out to Tri-State to try to figure out why, mercantile tax was above, even looking back to 2025. So I was starting to get all that information together, anticipating. But like I said, these particular categories are made up of multiple line items, so it would take me time to drill into that, but I can absolutely get that for you.
Appreciate it.
Yep,
Thank you.
you got it.
Is there any other board comment or questions?
My question is related only because I know that we have a workshop coming up. Do you think you have time in the before the workshop to dig into the outliers to be able to tell us what's driving, or think you need more time? I'm just
Yeah, because I
curious.
believe, I'm trying to think when, because Craig and I were going to talk and discuss.
Because we have the budget coming up too, so we want to identify maybe where we need to make some changes and have budget season.
Yeah. There's definitely time. We'll make the time to drill down into that information. And like I said, I've already started that process, so I already have the ball rolling on a lot of it. I just wasn't able to get everything for the meeting tonight. But
Understood.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other board comment or questions? Any public comment? Tom, come on up.
I actually already mentioned this to Angela, but is it possible to have the material that Angela just reviewed included in the package of materials? Because when the package came out, that material wasn't included in it. And it'd be nice to be able to study it a little bit.
We can update the
before coming
packet.
to the meeting.
Mhm. Yeah, we can update
What's
the
in the
packet.
package is just basically a listing of all the disbursements. This is really more meaningful information to kind of see how the township is actually doing. So if that could be included in the package, at least quarterly. Maybe not every month you need to include that, but quarterly, if Angela's going to do those types of comparisons to see kind of how we're doing revenue versus expenses. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the financials for June 2026 with expenditures of $1,065,678.48, payroll totaling $730,564.20, and pension plan expenditure of $5,900.85?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board comment or question? Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving down to the amended agenda, do I have a motion to authorize advertisement for a request for bids for Phase 2 at Abolition Hall and Corson Tract open space to provide invasive species management and woodland restoration services?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McAnally.
Yes, Phase 1 down at Abolition Hall for the hazardous trees and the declining trees, having them removed has been completed, and now we're moving on to Phase 2, which would be removal of invasives and planting of 550 whips on the site. This will be managed by our arborist, John Hosbach, and staff is recommending the authorization to advertise this bid. This would allow us to come back to the board, hopefully at the September meeting, with a recommendation on the bid. So, just to go out to bid for another project down at the Abolition Hall Corson Tract.
And correct me, this is in line with the survey and the comprehensive plan that John Hosbach put together for the Abolition Hall property?
Correct. This is Phase 2. So there might be 2 more phases on his plan. So this may be roughly a 2-year project.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while to get the invasives out.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? Come on up, Sidell.
Sidell Zoe of Harts Ridge Road. As you know, I've been closely involved with the Abolition Hall project, and I have attended every single one of the steering committee meetings since that committee launched. At the last meeting, it was announced that Mr. Hosbach recommended that this phase not be launched until the fall. And so there was no discussion of the substance of this plan, of this RFP, what it's about, how it would proceed. Absolutely no discussion at the committee level. While I'm pleased that there is some continuing movement, I am deeply concerned about this RFP, about its broad scope. and that it includes not just the removal of the invasives, but also includes the planting of the 550-plus whips, the small, young trees. I would recommend that these two portions of this phase be divided. And I don't have an issue with the removal of the invasives. I think the sooner we do that, the better. But I do have a significant concern about planting immediately following the removal of the invasives without a broader plan for the site, for the fields. I don't think it's appropriate to just stick 550 whips in the ground without knowing what the grand scheme is here. But I also have some very specific concerns, and I reached out to Andrew Conboy, whose name should be familiar to the supervisors. Andrew and Community Canopy Project have done an amazing job of reforesting portions of this township and Plymouth and other areas as well. They have about 3 years' worth of experience. So I sent the RFP to Andrew because he wasn't aware of it, and he actually walked the site. And he looked at the plan, he looked at the list of whips. He cannot be here tonight because he's en route, he's traveling. However, he did email me and with a concern, a very specific concern that I want to make sure you're aware of. And that is that there are some species identified for the whips that his experience, Community Canopy's experience over the last 2 to 3 years in planting in Whitemarsh and Plymouth demonstrates that those species do not fare well. And it has to do with the pH level of the soils. He writes that the property is located on the Ledger Formation, dolomite, or Elbrook and Conestoga formations, limestone. And these generate soil pHs that typically range from 7.0 to 8.0. And that some of the species on the list, including swamp white oak, willow oak, black gum, river birch, flowering dogwood, and potentially a few others, do not fare well in alkaline soils and prefer acidic soils with pH below 6.5. He says these species have not done well where we've planted them on various Whitemarsh properties. Most of them get chlorotic, that's an iron deficiency, and dramatically slow in their growth until they eventually fizzle out. It would be a tragedy to spend precious dollars on whips that are not going to succeed because of the nature of the soil, because of the pH level in the soil. It's particular, certainly the pH is particular to this site. We know it's underlain with limestone, and Andrew Conboy is speaking specifically to that soil condition. So I would recommend that this RFP be modified such that it has two parts. Part one being the removal and treatment of the invasives, which is going to take a while. It's not a one and done, that's for sure. And that at a later phase, a plan be developed for the planting of the whips. And that plan should not just address the specific species, which I think clearly is a concern, but more generally address how the site's going to be used. 550 whips is a lot of trees, and there is not yet a plan for the use of the 8 acres. Seems to me premature to stick all those whips in the ground without really knowing how the land's going to be used. And for example, the architect's conceptual plan as presented before the Abolition Hall Steering Committee refers to additional off-street parking, the parking lot and driveways and so forth. I don't know that John is even aware of that conceptual plan, and I don't even know whether that conceptual plan will be realized. So I think it's premature to plant but not premature to remove the invasives. I found on the dining room table, day before yesterday, this material that Steve, my husband, brought home from the Shade Tree Commission meeting this week. And I looked at this plan created by Biohabitats for the Montgomery County Planning Commission, and I thought, gosh, this is what we need for the 8 acres at Corson. We need a carefully conceived plan for how the site will be reforested, how the wetlands will be preserved and enhanced, and how we might create other features here that best serve the community and best reflect the interests, the environmental concerns and interests that are so apparent throughout this township, stormwater management being one of them. So why can't we have a plan like this, created by a firm like Biohabitats, for example? So again, I think clearing invasives is one thing, but starting to plant is a much different phase and should be separated from this RFP. And I hope you agree. I hope you will reconsider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Craig? Who is responsible within the township for driving the RFP process for this? Is it you?
It'll be, well, John's going to do the bid specs, and Krista will put it out on the
Okay.
website.
As written now, does it include separate line items for invasive removal and plantings, or is it requesting one single price?
I don't think it's a lump sum bid, it's individual broken down. They're separate items.
So conceivably, if it's done that way, when we get bids, we can decide at that time whether we want to do one piece or both pieces, or
We could-
delay the second piece.
Yeah, that language in.
Do a base bid and an alternate.
Yeah, you could do a base bid and alternate,
Base
base
and
bid
alternate.
being invasives. and-
I think part of the reason to do it this way now is to get a scope on cost and what this is going to cost, and an ability then to plan it out from there. But from what I understood, there were two separate. I had a discussion with John Osbach and Sam Zrillo about it. And the invasives are definitely first, number one, have to be done. But I think the idea was to put that out there to get an idea of cost, not necessarily timing to piggyback directly behind it.
So if we can get a base bid plus an alternate that would cover, I think that puts us in a position that gives us the most flexibility.
Then we have options.
Yep.
Come on up, Steve.
Steve Kaufman, also of Hartridge Road. This is a follow-up on what Siddall was saying, but going to the money angle. When I heard, I guess at Shade Tree, excuse me, that the invasives would be in the same contract as the planting of the various replacement trees. That's how I heard it, and that's how it seemed to be. I was a bit alarmed because going beyond all the points that Siddall mentioned, there is a big one about whether that 8 acres and Hobb and then 10 acres that the township owns next to Hobb need to be substantially replumbed. Could you do a very interesting stormwater feature that would be of the level of creativity, at least as this county effort along Bethlehem Pike, which is quite astounding. And there's not as much water there at Corson to work with, but there is, to go there when it's wet, water's flowing in off of properties from Germantown Avenue, et cetera. And you do have a total of 8 acres at Corson, 6 at Hobb. There will be a trailhead there, but also this 10 acres that sort of goes in the back. And of course, the question of money comes up. The ideal thing would be to do an engineering study and have a lot of work done before the planting of the whips. That would be the ideal. The question is, where does the money come from? And I just want to distribute, I'm not, by the way, I hope this also maybe gets in the minutes, I'm speaking as a private citizen and not on behalf of the Open Space Committee, of which I am chair. I haven't talked to anybody about it, so I'm speaking on my own behalf. But this memo here sets out how much money I think is available for open space purposes. And there's two sources. One is that we have by now about $15 million in the bank, some of which can be used for maintenance upgrades and planning and design under the state statute. The other thing is that we have annual revenue of about $3.4 million coming into the open space fund from the 1/4% EIT. Some of that disappears, but on debt service for Erdenheim, for example. But we have about $3 million available out of that sum for other purposes. And there's a need, I know, for major capital projects, perhaps major acquisitions, like a golf course comes up. But embedded in that $3 million that's unallocated is quite a bit of borrowing power. In general terms, if we were to take $800,000 out of that $3 million every year, that would support debt service on a $10 million bond at today's interest rates. And also based on my not very scientific research, the finance department would have to confirm that, but that's kind of the right order of magnitude, that if you borrow $1,000 in the bond market, you have to pay back about $80 a year. So that's a pattern followed with earlier financings. So anyway, this memo just develops the notion that, oh, it might be possible to do other major projects while spending money on things like Course and Hob and the 10 acres. Can I hand this to the supervisors? Is that appropriate? And I'm going to give this to Craig, and hopefully there's no mathematical errors in there. But this is my thinking. I'm missing a few things. I'm going to hand it out to start with you. Okay.
Steve, I'm going to run this through Excel, and if there's anything that's off, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to check your math.
Oh, well, you should. I was working on this right before the meeting.
Thank you.
Did I do something wrong? Anyway, it's sort of, it points in a particular direction. And if anybody wants to quibble, you're welcome to call me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Is there any other comment? Is there any other public comment? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It is now the regular public comment period. Is there any public comment? All right.
I just have a small question. Don't laugh. On the board resolutions, when the board resolutions come out, it has Craig as the attest function to the left, and you, JC, as the board chair to the right. Shouldn't it be reversed? Because you're the board chair, and Craig is doing the attest function. The attest function should be in my view, the attest function should be to the right of your signature, not the other way around.
I've seen it both ways.
Yeah.
I have. At the county level.
I like it my way.
Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing that.
I think it's more official because JC is really the chair.
Yeah, I hear you.
She should have that place of honor,
Yeah.
not the attest function. The attest function is attesting to JC's signature.
Yes.
That's just my point of view.
Yeah, but I've seen the attest on the left side and the chair on the right.
It can also be on the bottom.
Yeah.
I've seen it both ways also. Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, Kathy Burke, Roberts Avenue. I had some comments that I did not share earlier during the Planning Commission discussion because we were instructed to stick to the items that you were going to vote on. So I would like to share those thoughts now. My husband and I moved into Cedar Heights neighborhood in the spring of 2023, and our first interaction with Whitemarsh Township government was a zoning hearing board meeting about 201 Roberts in July of 2024. The difficulty I encountered as a citizen to stay informed about the hearings, continuations, cancellations, processes, and procedures was a surprise to me in a township of this caliber. From my point of view, the lack of transparency in this process was downright frustrating. Final decisions on crucial zoning points were made in private communications between township staff and the developer without the public's knowledge. According to the developer, discussions and assurances took place before the property sale was even finalized. To my mind, those decisions are the reason that this apartment complex made it to the hearing today. Specifically, it was asserted that, 1, there were 3 existing non-conforming uses on the property, 2 commercial uses remain active, and 3, since there were 3 non-conforming uses on the property, the developer was free to maintain 3 non-conforming uses. When this information was finally shared with the community at a public meeting, we offered rebuttals and assertions of our own. For example, the neighbors knew the business ceased operations in 2019. They knew that the flower shop and greenhouse were 2 functions of 1 small business. This had no bearing on the proceedings. The 3 private assertions were established fact. No evidence was presented to the public to verify these assertions, and the decision was final. No use variance was required. The zoning board task was narrowly defined to 5-dimension variances, which were granted on May 13th, 2025. This opened a door for a planned apartment complex in the neighborhood of single-family homes. The community was left to accept the township's decision or pay for legal costs and spend time in court. There was a third option offered by the developer multiple times. He could opt to build a vanilla box commercial building on the existing footprint for a mystery business to occupy in the future. It would have been nice to have a 4th option, a single-family home in keeping with the current zoning map and the intentions of the 2015 Board of Supervisors who voted to change the zoning of Roberts to be residential. And I just wanted to have that on the record, hoping, if I become more familiar with the procedures and processes, it won't seem as frustrating. I won't miss planning commission meetings, which I did miss for this, which I would have been there had I been aware. I know that the information's on the website. If you click in and you click that and you click this other thing, and then maybe the PDF will pop open and you can see that there's something relevant to you or your neighborhood on the agenda. So I know that it is definitely the letter of the law is being followed. But it is a little bit frustrating. When I reviewed the meetings from the Planning Commission, the minutes that haven't been approved yet, I think they were in draft form attached to the coming agenda. The minutes are edited by someone who has an editorial point of view. I saw nothing in those minutes about the discussion of the Planning Commission members, and there was nothing in those minutes about who voted to deny and who voted to affirm or grant the waivers. So I just feel like transparency is something that could probably be a little bit less opaque. That's all. And I appreciate you all and the hard work that you do. I appreciate the citizens who volunteer on those committees, but it was very frustrating, and it felt a lot like all of the neighbors that you saw here tonight, that we just aren't really being heard or respected. So I appreciate the opportunity to get that on the record as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Was there any other board comment?
I just have 2 board comments.
Go ahead.
With respect to, and this, I think, Charlie, this is a question for you. With respect to letting area neighbors know about what's happening, I know there's a requirement for a zoning hearing to provide a letter when there's a request for relief. Can you just talk a little bit more about that process?
Yeah. Those letters go out when we schedule the hearings.
Mm-hmm.
and they go out to every property within 500 feet
Okay.
of the property that's the subject of the hearing. When there is a continuance, if they're announced at a public zoning hearing board hearing to a specific date and time, there are no new letters that are required to go out.
Okay.
And the agendas will be posted, and it will be known when they come out. One of the things that people can do is sign up on our website to have specific agendas of various commissions and boards sent to them as soon as they get posted. And we haven't maybe pushed that recently, but it's a feature on our website that's been there for several years. So if somebody wants a zoning hearing board agenda, as soon as it goes on the website, they go to the Notify Me feature, ask for that. They could do the same thing, Planning Commission, for the board, for Shade Tree, any other board or commission. We respect all the requirements of the law and the advice of our zoning hearing board solicitor as to any notice periods. And generally, when there is a situation where we know there are parties that have registered, Mike Fury, the solicitor, will generally email the parties if we're canceling a meeting or continuing a meeting so that people know not to show up.
And then no letters go out for planning because they're advisory. That's not a requirement. The only thing that would go out to the public would be if they signed up for these notices for the agendas to know what's on that agenda.
That's correct.
And then that's really helpful, Charlie, I appreciate it. My other question is related to the parking issue we talked about earlier. Specifically the driveway. Is there a way for us, over with Owen Roberts that we talked about, is there a way for us to investigate who truly owns that piece of land? And if so, how would we go about doing that?
That alley.
You're referring to the alley?
I'm talking about the alley specifically.
I know we've had conversations with Dave Sander and Sean's office before about some of these alleys. Most of them, in my understanding, and if you look at tax maps, property lines go to the center of the alley, so everybody owns their respective piece on either side. And my understanding is they're responsible for maintaining them, and I guess the other issue is no individual can block other people from accessing them.
And that's pretty much in every municipality in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Got it.
Occasionally, there is an alley that's owned by a municipality, but it's very, very rare, and I don't believe that's the case here.
I haven't come across any in this township since I've been here.
So the township doesn't own any of the alleys that exist, to your knowledge?
No.
Okay. And I guess my third point is just with respect to, I understand the frustration that neighbors have when there's development in their neighborhood and not understanding, and I'm wondering if there's a way that we can demystify the process a little bit for the residents in an article in Whitemarsh Living or something that just kind of talks about what we talked about here tonight about kind of how plans go through their process and how community members can make sure that they're up to date on what's happening in their own communities. I don't know if we can do that, Greg, or can we do that?
We could do that in a Whitemarsh Living article in the fall, or we can try to get something on the e-blast that goes out on a weekly basis.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Even if we did something like highlight one at a time, spotlight on, one particular committee and how it works, how things work.
I think that'd be great because I think a lot of people have this
information, like a PSA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Sedilzo, just want to speak very briefly to the issue of notices. So my experience has been that if you're at a zoning hearing board hearing and the issue is continued, the fact that it is announced as continued at the hearing serves as the public notice. And only if you are a party, registered with Mr. Fury as a party, might you receive that email notice from Mr. Fury. Otherwise, if you're just a concerned resident who has chosen not to be a party, you don't know that the matter has been continued unless you subscribe to the Notify Me and you get the notice of the zoning hearing, which comes out about a week ahead of time. But it would be very helpful, it really would, if a matter is continued, that it somehow be posted on the township's website, on the calendar, that somewhere, that this matter will be taken up at the next hearing or whatever the date might be. It's very confusing to people. And there's no easy way to check on the status of a matter that's come before the zoning hearing board.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? All right. I just want to mention that the board had executive session tonight on real estate matters. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night, Whitemarsh.